Hello, and welcome to Discover Stories on Reimagine Radio. I'm your host, Sean Burdett, with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Today we have a very special guest, musician, audio engineer, and program manager for Digga, VAMS, and Connectra, Graeme Wyman. Graeme, thank you so much for coming on today. How's it going?
It's going well, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Glad to hear. So, just starting off here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you?
I'm a Vancouverite, born and bred. Grew up on the North Shore. And then, long story short, music's been my passion since I was a kid. Started on piano, transitioned to sax, guitar, bass, a multitude of other things that I don't play nearly as well. Music's a pretty big part of my life, obviously. And then went to college for that. So went to Berklee College of Music for audio engineering and then music business. After 5 years, came back to Vancouver and basically just been creating my life there ever since.
Right on. How about you tell us a little bit about your disability?
Yeah, so I have a very rare type of dwarfism. It's weirdly enough in December, so about a month ago, a little over a month, they actually classified it. So I've actually not known what I've essentially had for 31 years, but what I technically have is spondyloepiphyseal metaphyseal dysplasia type 2. So, long story short, I think essentially the way that I like to equivalent it is that I have pretty severe arthritis in my joints. And I'm just a short-statured as well. But, it's something that I was born with. And that's kind of, it's just kind of an interesting time right now. We're just kind of learning more about it. It was kind of funny though when my family and my partner were asking like, oh, what does it feel like to finally have a diagnosis of your disability? I just kind of laughed and I was like, well, it doesn't really change much in the sense it's nice, I guess, to know, but I've lived 31 years without knowing, except my lived experience. So yeah, that's kind of I'm finding out more, I guess, too.
Yeah.
The older I'm getting around it.
Of course. I'm assuming this disability is congenital, right?
It's actually, believe it or not, the doctor, when I was talking to the geneticist, she did say like it was just a fluke. Like there's no genetic marker with my parents. They thought it could have been a bunch of different things. It was just a mutation, like a rarity that happened. So there was no pre-existing reason for why this may have happened.
Oh, okay. I see. So what was your life like growing up just as a child with this?
To be honest, it really didn't impact. I mean, there were certain physical limitations, things like that. But to be honest, for the better part of my life, I never saw myself as disabled. I mean, I feel I'm incredibly lucky just with the amount of mobility that I have with my disability, the things that I've been able to do. To give an example, I started swimming at quite a young age because it's great for my joints and it's a great form of exercise. And I don't think I would have gotten as far in my swimming career if it wasn't for the fact that I had a disability. I think that like actually opened up certain doors for me. But yeah, I have two loving parents who really were supportive. My mom luckily had a background in healthcare, so she was very much involved in seeing, how I could have the best quality of life. And parents were really supportive. It was a very, very, for the most part, as normal as it could be childhood.
Right on. And you mentioned a little bit earlier that this disability, it's exceedingly rare. What was that like for you, just growing up with Layla? Like, how did that impact you?
To be honest, it was more around, I guess, I don't know, I guess, I like because it was so rare, there was nothing to compare it to. We would go to these conferences called the Dwarf Athletic or the DAAA, Dwarf Athletic Association of America, and long story short, a bunch of genetic doctors would come and they would try to map you out, and it just never there would never be an answer. So I guess the way that I kind of looked at it, they thought like, okay, you're close enough with this genetic marker. Maybe you're like one of five that they knew about at the time in North America, and we're talking this is the late '90s, early 2000s. So I mean, it really was kind of I just thought I was unique. And everyone's unique in their own way, but I just kind of held on to that. I guess, and that's also like finding out the genetic marker. I don't like it's not going to change who I am or finally getting a diagnosis. It just, I guess it means that there could be a support group for people who have this that I guess I could reach out to. And I mean, it's still early days, just kind of not dealing with that, but just kind of understanding where I guess I fit into the world now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Just to put that a little bit on the side, I want to get a little bit more into the music side of you. You as a musician. How did you get started with music? What made you fall in love with it?
So long story short, my folks, there was always music going on in the house. I think just at a young age, I just really gravitated towards certain types of music. I was brought on a lot of, 80s, 70s, and 60s music. A lot of basically what my parents listened to. A lot of 80s stuff, which I think I just, music was always around. And basically, I think it translated. I know when I was a kid, I always wanted to play the guitar. Like there's photos of me. I think it's like a Fisher Price rake, and I'm strumming the thing. And yeah, it just basically, I always wanted to play guitar, and then and thank goodness that my parents decided to do this. But they said, okay, why don't you start with piano? And that definitely was my opening or foray into music, and it I'm so glad that it happened because I visualize everything that I'm studying with music on the piano. And that it started there. Then I moved. I mean, I always wanted to play guitar again, obviously. So I transitioned into concert band. And of course, you don't have a guitar in concert band, or at least that's what the teachers told me at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll try my hand at the sax. So picked up the saxophone. Eventually, I finally, or not finally, but my dad got me a guitar, I think for my 12th birthday. And it was funny, having wanted to play it so much, I would give time to it, but it just never felt right. And so when I was around 13, my dad was like, you've had the guitar for a year. Like, I'm surprised you're not picking it up more. Like, you're playing piano and you're playing your sax more than you are the guitar, and you always want to play it. And I was like, it's just difficult. Like, I don't understand it just doesn't make sense to me. And he sits there for a second and he asks, well, how would you hold it? And I was like, well, it makes more sense for me to hold it like this. So I flipped it around to being left-handed. And sure enough, he clued in that, oh, you're left-handed. And so traded that guitar in and got a left-handed guitar. And then ever since then, like my dad and mom both say, we never had to tell you to practice your guitar. You'd always be doing that versus the piano or the sax. So that's really how it just kind of started. And then I was really interested in recording music. So when I was 15 or 16, I got my kind of first setup, my first Pro Tools setup. And, I had one mic and I would record demos with friends and just, they were horrible, horrible demos, but at least I was starting to get into that. And then it was really funny when I was trying to figure out, okay, what would I want to do with my life after high school? And music was just my passion. So I luckily got into Berkeley, spent 4 amazing years there doing the music engineering and production program, and met some lifelong friends and really started to hone that craft. And yeah, that's kind of a condensed look at how I got into music and where I'm at now.
Right on. And I understand that you do write. What genres are you in?
I when I was younger, it was strictly like alternative rock, but with like a classic rock kind of influence.
Okay, nice.
But going to Berkeley really helped like open up my blinders or my eyes to a lot of different genres that I had kind of passed off as, rock or die, basically. And so, no, I mean, the stuff that I really do love now is it's kind of encompassing as much as I can from different genres that I really enjoy. So whether that's funk and soul, R&B music, folk rock or folk music in general. Like to give an example right now, I'm working on a piece that's I would say kind of based in acoustic folk, but it's got some R&B and funk connotations to it. So, it kind of, the older I'm getting, the more I'm expanding that horizon. So, but a lot of the stuff that I did write to in college and after was definitely in that alternative kind of psychedelic rock vein.
Wicked. Yeah. Who are your inspirations?
I was going to say, do we have enough time in this podcast to talk about that? I guess it would be probably first and foremost Pink Floyd as kind of a group or sound, specifically David Gilmour for his guitar. But I mean, I could go like Miles Davis is a huge influence on me, specifically his period from 69 to 74, which is when he was really taking his stuff more into the electric side of music, or introducing electric music into jazz. But, you could say Joni Mitchell's a huge influence on me as well. Carole King. Neil Young. I mean, I'll stop there, but it just could go on and on. For something new, I'll add one more: Tame Impala and Radiohead, or some new stuff that I really enjoy. That's just a little bit of it.
That's great.
And I'll just throw a question at you. Who are some of your? I know you're a singer. But, who are some of your influences?
Oh God, that's a weird question. I listen to a lot, so I guess like the big ones, like the big guys that Coheed and Cambria were like the first band I ever got into.
Okay.
So they had left a lasting mark on me. But this is really tough. I love Pink Floyd. I listen to a lot of R&B and rap as well. So MF Doom is probably like my favorite musician of all time.
Yeah.
Like I know that's such a generic response, but like his story and just like he had a massive influence on me, especially when I was like still writing music. A lot of not Airplane Over the Sea, Neutral Milk Hotel, Tame Impala, lately I'm listening to a lot of like Deftones and Bad Not Good, and just a whole smorgasbord of musicians, really.
Yeah. Are you an Erykah Badu fan?
Who?
Erykah Badu?
No, I'm not. I have never heard of her.
Okay, if you're into R&B, just that kind of she started in the 90s, if I believe correctly. But yeah, no, she's a definite other powerhouse. Again, I'm trying to think of also like shows that were like really impactful to me. I saw her at the Jazz Fest, and she's mainly R&B. But yeah, that's another one for me for sure.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll have to give her a try. Where was I? Oh yeah. I love asking this question because I feel like I get a real range of answers on this, but do you feel that your experience with a disability has influenced your music, and how so?
I think it's definitely influenced, but not necessarily say in the writing process, probably more in how I approach each instrument. Okay. That's more where it comes down from. Like even when I take a attempt, and I will say attempt very loosely, at writing lyrics, that doesn't really come into my writing, it's more how I would approach the instrument, because with my disability, I physically can't use my pinky. So I actually only use 3 fingers when I play the guitar. And so, bar chords are out. Certain things that you would normally do, say on the guitar, are different, or I just play different triads throughout. But it's more how I approach the instrument that it influences with my disability versus how I say would write music.
Okay.
And again, that's why I didn't start playing bass until I was 18. And it's funny just because, again, you're not doing bar chords as much, and it's more you're hitting roots and things like that, where it was definitely a lot more accessible for me to play. And I fell in love with the instrument too, because it just, it's your foundation, drums and bass, right? So no, that was just a very cool thing to, be able to experience that. So not late in life, but at least at that point in my musical career.
Right. What are your thoughts on the portrayal of disability in music?
I think there's definitely a stigma behind if people associate someone having a disability and playing music. That's definitely one thing. And I mean, there certainly are influential disabled musicians out there. Like, I'll give 2 examples. One is Jeff Healey, who was blind. If I'm not sure if many people know, but he was definitely at the forefront of being a musician. But you look at someone like Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles as well. So there are people that are out there playing it, but I think there's definitely I think people have this idea on what someone's capable of if you associate disability in music. But and that's the thing for myself, or what I've realized too, especially working with VAMS, is some of the most interesting, capable, fascinating musicians that I know are people with disabilities, and how they approach, how they write, how they play, and understanding that there may be limitations, but it doesn't impact them creating art by any means.
Right on.